Alright guys, well today I've got this stripped down LS head. This is a 317. This is an LQ4 head, so it's a larger combustion volume head, great for boosted applications or for those that want to run cheap gas like me. And I'm going to show you how I get these things ready before I bolt them on the engine. I am going to be taking my 1/4 inch die grinder. This is a True Power eBay special, but you can get these things off Harbor Freight Tools and other outlets like that. And we're going to be using this along with a dimmer switch that I've installed so I can control the speed. And we're going to be smoothing out all these casting imperfections in the head. We're going to be increasing airflow, increasing laminar airflow. That's the airflow that's next to the surface. And that's going to give us a little bit more power, a little bit more efficiency, and hopefully reduce the amount of carbon that sticks to the intake runners as the years and the mileage stack on. So we'll be using our grinder. We're using our speed control. I use a Summit Racing Equipment cartridge roll set. Okay. But honestly, all I ever use in this set is the 60 grit. I use the 1/2 inch 60 grit, the 3/8 60 grit, and sometimes the 1/4 inch 60 grit. I rarely go to the 80s. Okay, so if you're just going to go out and buy some cartridge rolls, I recommend the 1/2 inch and 3/8 60 grit only, because that gets things done for me. Make sure you have a long arbor on your die grinder. This here is a 4 inch one, and that is just barely adequate. I recommend probably a 5 inch arbor, and a 6 might even be beneficial as well. The only problem is, as you get longer arbors, the balance becomes more and more critical, and things can go into a death wobble more quickly. So, shorter arbors are easier to handle, but the longer ones will give you better reach. Okay. So, the goal of our port work today is not to enlarge these ports. These things are like 200 cc's as cast. They don't need to be any bigger for a street engine. Okay? We're just going to be trying to increase airflow by smoothing things out and making it a little bit easier for the air to reach the valves. Okay? So we're going to be concentrating on the outside radius. Okay, this is the top of the port, and it dumps downward into the valves. So this is going to be the outside radius. We'll be working on this. We're going to work on the inside as well, but the inside is going to see minimal flow improvement compared to the outside. So we'll be concentrating our work up here, minimizing the work here, and a little bit in the bowl area. So I'll show you intake, port side, intake valve side, then I'll show you exhaust, port side, exhaust valve side. Alright, so I am going to spin this head around and get to a easy position to work with. Okay. Oh, and one thing I forgot to mention is you're going to need a good light. You're going to want to light up the back side of the head so you can see what's going on in there. Okay? Hang on, let me do that again. Alright, so we got a couple things that we need to address on the intake port here. Okay? We have this transition from the fuel injector over to the runner itself, so we'll be smoothing that out. And there's also this bump on the left hand side, looking at it this way. There's this bump that allows for your rocker arm stud to sit in there. Now some people will port this down and actually go through the metal, exposing the threads. That's okay as long as you seal the heads, but we're not going to be going that far today. We're just going to be smoothing out a little bit. We're not going to be removing enough to expose the threads, although there may be some flow improvements if you do that. All right, so let's grab a big old fat 60 grit. If you grind all the way through that casting line, you are kind of pushing the boundaries of what is polishing and what is porting. We're just polishing today, so we're gonna keep a little bit of this casting line here. All right, where that rocker arm stud is gonna go on the side. See that little side hump there? We're gonna be sanding that down just a hair. Okay, so like I said, I am just trying to remove that rough casting all the way around. I am working the easy to get to areas first, out here on the sides and toward this opening. As you get deeper into the port, you gotta watch out for the nut on your grinder. You don't wanna bang up the edges here, okay? That's where the longer 5 and 6 inch arbors come in handy, okay? So we're working the easy to reach areas first, and then we're gonna do all 4 ports, and then we'll flip the head over. see down in there. You can see we've got this fairly smooth here. You can still see the, hopefully we got this pretty smooth. You can still see the casting line across there, so we haven't really ported it at all. Flipping to the other side, you can see the casting line on the other side. We haven't ported it. We're just getting rid of all the roughness. The injector boss is smooth and it flows easily over into the main port. You can feel it with your fingers. There's no sharpness or anything. It's a nice, easy transition for the air to make. Okay, and we've ported it pretty close to the valve stem boss. Okay, that's about as far as I can reach with my 4-inch arbor. I've done about as much to this rocker arm stud boss as I can. So we're going to flip the head over now and we'll look at the other side. There you go, now you can see the better. Okay, so you can see the shiny part where I've smoothed up with this 80 grit sanding roll, and you can see all the rough sections as cast. So now we're going to work on this side. We're going to be blending up to this valve seat here. We're going to be careful not to nick the seat with our sanding roll or the nuts on our grinder. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit of a bevel on that boss, and I'm going to try to smooth a little bit around it as well. There's a lot of air having to go on either side of that boss, so one of my goals is to open up these areas on either side and to contour this boss so the air can fall over that boss a little bit more easy. Alright, so first I'm going to work around the boss. So I'm working over here, alright, and over here, and over the top, kind of putting a little bit of chamfer on that boss. It's okay if you want to hit the guide a little bit, you're not going to hurt anything. Some people will knife these things down to the guide. I don't think we need to go quite that far for a beginner setup. Okay. And so I got these pretty well blended here. I'm going to switch from this 1/2 inch roll to a 3/8 roll soon, but I'm going to go ahead and go around the bowl area as well and smooth that out, being careful not to nick the seat itself. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. We'll do the bowl area now. Okay, now this inside edge here, the inside curve is called the short turn radius, okay? And the air flows slowly across here. Shape is more important than smoothness. So just knock the carbon off, knock off some of that rough stuff. Don't be trying to change the shape of this, okay? If you have an LS head, it has a beautiful short turn radius as is. Don't be messing with it, okay? Just smooth it up, get rid of the carbon, make it more slick, and that's it. You do not want to change the shape of this, all right? Okay, so you can see it's looking pretty good right now. I don't see any natural casting flash around here, except maybe deep down into these radiuses. There's a little bit of roughness right through here and right through here. Okay, so I'm going to switch to a 3/8 inch diameter cartridge roll, and I'll go ahead and take care of that there. Okay. Right through there is gone, as well as over here. Alright, and this one is pretty much done. Okay, now normally I will do 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'll just go all the way across with each step so I can keep track of how each one looks. I want to try to keep each port looking the same, but for YouTube I'm just working on this single port. So we're going to flip this head over and we'll look at the exhaust ports. The exhaust port is handled pretty much the same way as the intake port. We're going to start on the exit here with our 1/2 inch cartridge roll, 60 grit, and we're going to get rid of all this casting boogaboo. Okay? We're going to work around the valve stem boss a little bit with our 1/2 inch, and then we're going to flip the head around and we're going to go in from the other side to work it with a 1/2 inch. When we're done everything we can with a 1/2 inch, then we'll go back with our 3/8 and kind of fine tune. Of this valve stem boss, I have kind of tapered the edge of that boss just a hair. Okay, so there's less of a blockage to flow coming out. And I went ahead and smoothed this short side up here. Keep this short side flat, okay? If you open this up round, then you get rid of this reversion. This is kind of an anti-reversion feature of this cylinder head. D-shaped exhaust ports. You want to keep that a D shape. Okay, well here is the other side, the valve side of that exhaust port. Okay, you can see that I got pretty far up in here with my 1/2 inch cartridge roll. But now I'm going to go ahead and do the bowl work. Again, I am not going to do anything but just kind of knock off the rough edges on this short side. I'm going to clean it up all the way around, but most of my work is going to be on the sides of this valve guide boss, trying to allow more air to get around it. That's all I'm working on. So back to the 1/2 inch cart. And as you can tell, I'm using this at a medium speed. You know, I've probably got my home rheostat here adjusted for about halfway. If it's too fast, this thing gets out of control. It starts to wobble and vibrate. You don't want that. So go as slow as you can, but you don't want to stall it. Camera's in my way. Gotta back it up a little bit more. There we go. Okay. All right. So now this thing's looking pretty good. You can see it's nice and shiny all the way around. There's still just a little bit of that roughness around the edges. So I'll switch to a 3/8 inch cartridge roll to finish up. But this one's almost done. Alright, so that's it for the video. Like I say, I don't pretend to know everything about LS heads. I have ported quite a few heads. I've done, Pontiac 400s, 455s, small block Chevy, Viper, what else? LS, probably something I'm missing back there. But I've done a few heads over my life. And your basic street pocket porting and polish is just like this, okay? If you want to do more on an LS head though, really, you need to have it CNC ported. You can't do much more. Like I said, I did point out that rocker arm stud boss that kind of intrudes in there. Yeah, if you want to get aggressive, you can start slimming that down a little bit more. That might pick you up a few extra CFM. But our goal here is really 10, maybe 15 CFM. But that translates to 20 to 25 horsepower on the street if you have a hot street engine. So that's pretty good. Let me know your comments, questions, whatever. Shoot me a question in the comments section. I'll try my best to answer it. And thanks for watching.